recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Posey, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Chinese Communist Party threatens almost every component of our government and the lives of Americans, obviously. Ms. Kerner, your written testimony didn't mention China at all. Mr. Russell, you mentioned diversity, but you didn't mention China. Ms. Scott didn't mention China. Dr. Griffin, your testimony does mention our adversary, China, and I wonder if you would expound upon why you went to such detail for the clarification of others.
In my judgment, China, and I don't want to say China, I want to say the Chinese Communist Party, fully understands and frequently says that their goal is to be the world's great power. They regard the Western democracies as decadent and outmoded and ineffective and inefficient. China's president, he has other titles, Xi, bullies neighboring countries, presumes to take control of international waterways, supervises a military establishment that has recently sunk other people's ships fishing in their own waters. Everything about the behavior of the Chinese Communist Party suggests that they are their adversary, and they say so. To allow a situation to develop where the human frontier is populated by our adversary and we are not there should be unacceptable to this nation and to our Western and Asian partners. It should be unacceptable. We are not on a path to recognize that. The rest of the world looks and will always look to the nations that occupy the frontier and exploit the frontier and extend the frontier as leaders of the world. I believe that's a position that the United States should occupy in preference to our adversaries. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. And you mentioned frontier. Add to that ultimate military high ground. Whoever controls space will control the destiny of this earth.
As you know, I've spent considerable time in the national security side of our space programs as well, and I really consider them to be one program. But I came here today to discuss civil space, sir, and we can discuss military space at another occasion.
How should America make it our goal to ensure that we emerge as first among equals when it comes to setting standards? We've had a couple of hearings on that.
Well, the standards are set by the people who show up. They're not set by the people who watch what happens with others. So by returning to the moon in a focused and expeditious manner, which we are not today, we will inevitably bring along, we will be required to bring along communications and navigation and other infrastructure systems, which we expect others will use as well. By that mechanism, we will have established the standards, just as we did with the ICAO starting at the end of World War II for global air transport. But again, those are facts on the ground that are created by the people who are on the frontier first. They're not created by the people who follow.
Thank you, Doctor. Ms. Kerner, what specific steps are being taken to address what some consider to be the outdated gas and propellant pipelines and other ground systems at Kennedy Space Center to ensure that we have the capacity to support our booming commercial space sector?
So the infrastructure at the Kennedy Space Center, as well as at all of our centers, is very much aging, and we are aware of that within the agency. I will tell you from an Artemis perspective, we are investing heavily in the capabilities that we need to support the Artemis mission. Last year, we had over 70 launches from this Florida Space Coast. It's an exciting time for all of us in the space industry. Most of those were on the Cape side, but we also had a number of them from our side at the Kennedy Space Center. And in order, in order to support those, we have poured heavily, as I said, into the infrastructure. But we also recognize that there's still more that is needed there. Many of the launches from that area are commercial in nature, and we have use agreements with our commercial and industry partners that allow them to actually invest in the infrastructure as well. We know as an agency that our infrastructure is older than I am in some cases, and our NASA leadership has established what's called NASA 2040, which is an internal effort to look at all of the agency's infrastructure and mission support functions to be able to set us up properly for what the agency's mission is going to be in the 2040 timeframe. Infrastructure like that at the Kennedy Space Center, which is critically important to us in Artemis, is part of that discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back with a request that we also have a weather modification technology hearing again. Thank you.